We're a little more than 2 weeks away from the draft, and still we don't have a strong sense of where the New Orleans Saints might go in this upcoming 2026 NFL draft. However, we do know that wide receiver is a strong need, and in the draft where there are so many of them, we wonder if the team would ponder taking two of them early. Well, that's why we have you here, because you know what? Y'all have all the answers. Well, maybe some of them, but we want to know what your answers are, and we will ask you what your thoughts are and go through some of the other questions from last week's owners' meetings. We also will talk about what could potentially not be a season-changing series for the LSU Tigers, but a game on Sunday that will go down in the team's history books. All the great history of LSU baseball. Yesterday was a special one. Gabe is here. We have a special Dat Date that involves both New Orleans and one of today's national championship participants. Your tummy is full of crawfish and candy, and your mind is on the Dattitude podcast. So take a Tums, relax, and kick your feet up, because the aforementioned Dattitude podcast, well, good for you. It's up next.
Ready to hear the straight scoop on local and national sports? It's time for Jim Derry's take on the Saints, LSU, what betting lines to ponder, and more. He's got opinions, he's got insight, and he's got Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? How many Reester bunnies did you eat yesterday? I am sad to say that I ate none, but I did eat everything else. So, yes, I took a day off my diet, but I did not take a day off of Dattitude, episode number 492, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, April the 6th. I am tardy, and I don't care. That's the kind of Reester attitude we're going to have. No, right? Did I just say ratitude? We weren't going to call it. He had to win the job for me to call it ratitude. Whatever, you know what I mean. We're going back in time. No, we're not taking off a day of Dattitude. We might have ate too much. We had crawfish. We had potatoes. We had all kinds of other candy. What else did we eat? We had, mother-in-law made some cheesecake with a brownie bottom. Yes, I partook. What else did we have? We had egg salad. We had, I probably had 4 cups of coffee. I think I'm still wired from the cups of coffee. It's going to be a great day. We don't know what's going on. That's right. I'm tardy and I don't care. I am your host, Jim Derry. I'm 35 and a half years on the New Orleans sports media scene. New Orleans sports media scene, I should say. Although I guess in the grand scheme of things, I'm 57 years in the New Orleans media scene, one way or another. Whatever. You know what I mean. We thank you for spending part of your day with us. Breaking news. Do you care? Angel Reese has been traded in the WNBA to the Atlanta Dream. Do you care? I don't know. Maybe some of you do, and whatever. It's going to be kind of a whatever day here on Mano E Monday. We're at that weird point where you've been talking about the draft for, basically since the Super Bowl ended. So almost 2 full months now, we've been talking about the draft, what the Saints might do between free agency and the draft. And you get to a point where it's like, just get on with it, right? Just get on with it. And then, so it'll kind of ramp up again the week before. As many of you know, if you were here Friday, you heard us talk about it. Live draft show here on Dattitude. It's going to be a combined show with the great people of my former employer at the mothership, NOLA.com. We will all be together again for a one-night special. 5-6 hours, who knows how long. Gabe will be part of the show as well. Who knows what surprises there will be in store. And if the Saints take, Mansour Delane, maybe you'll want to. I don't see me. This isn't like past drafts where I say, if they do such and such, I'm going to go off. And before they signed Travis Etienne in free agency, I would have probably, and all the things that they did in free agency so far, I would probably, I would have told you if they don't take offense in the first round, I'm going to gonna blow a gasket. I can't say that anymore. I mean, they've kind of balanced themselves out. I mean, even though I still think they should go offense, and obviously today we're going to talk about potential wide receivers, and I got a little chart for you, top 10 receivers according to PFF, and why I think it's a reasonable possibility that the Saints would go. I'm not just putting title slides up there to make title slides. I mean, I truly believe that it's a possibility that the Saints could take 2 wide receivers early in the draft to go with Chris Olave. And look, Chris Olave re-signing and doing a long-term deal it's no sure thing. Until that thing gets inked, it's no sure thing. And if they don't have Chris Olave, think about how light this wide receiver room is. It is super light. So again, in a day and age where wide receiver contracts are just through the roof, it would not shock me. It would not surprise me at all if that's the direction the Saints went. Now, do I think they're going to do that? Probably not. But we're still going to talk about the potential on why it's a possibility. If they go draft if they go draft a Carnell Tate, who we saw on the title slide, we'd go draft him first. Do they think about drafting think about that. If you could get a Carnell Tate and a Chris Bell, sure, this team has multiple needs, no question. But it's a possibility. That's we're going to talk about that today. Of course, we're going to talk about LSU baseball today. Just what a day for not just for Kate Arambidi, but just for the LSU baseball program. I wrote on the members only Slack channel the other day. I said Friday after they came back and won that game Friday. I said if LSU wins this series, that I think you could probably later on, if something special happens this year, which I don't care, you could say whatever you want. It's a possibility. I did not look up the odds this morning, but you know what? I will do that here on live TV because, it's kind of what I do. I'll call it up as I'm talking here. But if LSU comes back and makes something special out of this season, I think you may be able to point to what happened this past weekend as kind of the kickoff point. And as I look at it right now, by odds, LSU is 8th. Okay. Now, a lot of times this time of year, the odds makers, they don't immediately react. So if you think LSU's got a chance to make it to the College World Series and make a run, now's the time to jump on them at plus 1,800 because I bet by the time we come back on the air on Friday that number is going to change. I'd be willing to say that number is going to be closer to 1,600 or maybe even 1,400, which is where North Carolina is. The top 8 in the College World Series right now, according to the odds makers, are UCLA, which is a low plus 550, the overwhelming favorite. Texas second at plus 850, Georgia Tech 900, Mississippi State plus 950, Georgia 1,200, that means 12-1. North Carolina plus 1,400, means 14-1. Texas A&M plus 1,600, and LSU is 8th at plus 1,800. Followed actually pretty far down the line, Auburn and Florida, then Alabama, Florida State, and it goes way beyond after that. If you like somebody like Coastal Carolina, you get them at plus 4,000. But LSU is as rough a time as a lot of you think they have, and they've been inconsistent, and no question they've now won 2 consecutive SEC series. But I'm going to say it again. If they come back later on, if they make something happen of this season, sure, winning a series last week against Kentucky was great, and it was enjoyable, and it was something that had to happen. But this series maybe means a little bit more. And if you think about why, again, we're going to talk about this later in the show, but you think about why it meant so much. Again, Aaron Beatty puts his name in the history books, but did you watch yesterday? And there was just something about when you beat a team who talks as much smack as Tennessee does, I don't know about you, but I just get a little bit more out of this. Okay, so maybe I am overblowing it a little bit because I took a little bit more pleasure in the Volunteers' pain yesterday. Did you see? I don't know how much you saw. Okay, so 2 outs in the 9th. LSU's down 5-4, and just horrendous. I mean, absolutely atrocious balls and strikes calls by the home plate umpire, who was just horrible. It was just, and I'm not saying it was bad for LSU. He was just terrible. Called strike 3. I can't even remember who was the plate. I think it was Darnar, but I'm not 100% sure. It was about 2 feet, about 2 inches above his shoelaces. And the strike before that was about 8 inches above his shoelaces. So consecutive strikes. Then strike 3 calls him out looking, second out of the inning. LSU has the bases loaded with a chance to tie the score, take the lead. And he called strike 3 because I guess he had dinner plans and the baseball karma gods came back to get him because it went 12 innings. But Jay Johnson came out and very rightly argued the call, as much to protect his player, probably, as to get his frustration and anger out. And meanwhile, you got Tennessee players all over the field and in the Tennessee dugout and coaches just chuckling it up and laughing it up. And as soon as they tied it, I'm like, I don't want to say what I said here on the air. You can kind of get it. Laugh at that, mofo. I want something along those lines. Laugh at that. And then LSU scored a run in the 11th, but Tennessee came back, and then that 10-run 12th was phenomenal. It was just absolutely phenomenal, and I enjoyed every second of it. And Kate Arambidi is in the LSU record books for most home runs in a single game with 4. And let me tell you something. If you haven't seen it, go find it, because that 4th home run was, I mean, it was an absolute bomb. And if the scoreboard hadn't gotten away, it might not have landed yet. The top of the scoreboard, I think it looked like something from The Natural. I think he broke the tee off in Tennessee. Maybe it wasn't that good, but it was pretty damn good. Go check it out. Anyway, so we'll be talking about, we're going to have a lot of fun today. So we're going to get to just different things. There's a couple other things I want to talk about that happened in the national world. I haven't not talked to you since Friday night. Did you watch the Final Four, a ho-hum national championship game that UCLA absolutely destroyed South Carolina yesterday? I started watching some of it, and it was pretty obvious from the start that were South Carolina emotions after beating UConn Friday too much for them to handle, or was UCLA just that damn good? You know, I don't know. Because UCLA was pretty good, although they weren't great in the final. They weren't great in the semifinals. They were just kind of ho-hum. They made plenty of mistakes, but South Carolina was absolutely fantastic in the semifinals game. And, you know, Geno Ariemma just went absolutely bonkers mad. And the fact that he is, at least to what I can tell, I have not seen this. Gabe can tell me if I'm wrong, if he's seen it somewhere, but I have not seen that he's issued an apology to Dawn Staley. Probably he has. I have not seen it. So Gabe's saying he has. Well, good for him. But still, he went absolutely bonkers and lost his mind, and he's an idiot. There's no other way to say it. I mean, I'm glad if he did apologize, I'm glad he did, but you can't act like that. And if you don't know what I'm talking, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you really, what did you do? You went camping all weekend and you didn't have a TV, or you didn't bring your phone with you? Because Geno Ariemma went absolutely mad and was out of his mind and was completely in the wrong. And so if he did apologize, he says, okay, thank you, Gabe. Gabe copies this. He says, so let's give Ariemma some credit. That's what we do here. If you apologize, that's great. He says, quote, there's no excuse for how I handled the end of the game versus South Carolina. He said in a statement. I wish you would have came out and said this, like either on social media or something. I hate a statement. Come on, man. Does this say, did he call Dawn Staley is my question. From what I understand, he has not reached out, and I'm sorry. But this isn't good enough. Okay. There's no excuse for I handled the end of the game versus South Carolina. It's unlike what I do and what our standard is here at Connecticut. I want to apologize to the staff and the team at South Carolina. It was uncalled for in how I reacted. The story should be how well South Carolina played, and I don't want my actions to detract from that. I've had a great relationship with their staff, and I sincerely want to apologize to them, unquote. And in parentheses, I'm a sore-ass loser. It's the only, I mean, honestly, that's the only excuse. That's not even an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's a reason. You're just not used to losing. You had won 54 consecutive games, 53 of them by double digits, and you don't know how to lose. And I'm not saying you shouldn't necessarily accept losing, but CBS said he called Staley. I have not seen that, Kyle. I actually looked for that this morning. So maybe it's happened in the few hours that since I've been preparing for the show, because I've been prepping for the show since about 8 o'clock this morning. And I have not looked for that. So it's possible that he has. But even if he has, though, even if he has, Kyle and everyone else, to me, why wouldn't you do that? I don't want to say right away. I mean, the heat of the moment, I get it. But the next day, why does it take so long to realize that you're? And then his excuse was the worst part. Okay, his excuse was that she didn't shake hands in the pregame festivities or pregame whatever, when coaches get together and shake hands and say hello, and you'll see them yucking it up, or you don't have to yuck it up. If you don't like somebody, you don't have to yuck it up with somebody. But it turns out that not only was that just an asinine reason for being a little bitch, but it was not true. There was video proof that it wasn't true. And I don't want to waste a quarter of a show talking about this, but if we had a show the next day, I might have put it on the title slide, because we would have been spending probably 20 minutes talking about this. And this is a perfect example of, like, you show kids, we try to set examples for ourselves and how kids should act. And as a father and a grandfather, if I acted like that on national television, I mean, Lord knows I've acted in weird ways here in the show throughout 492 episodes at different times. Gabe Henderson knows how to press my disrespect buttons. Just kidding. But seriously, I mean, if you're someone of that stature, you should be a person that, takes pleasure and honor in having young people look up to you and learn how to act. And they didn't that night. So I just don't think a statement, again, who is Jim Derry? What does his opinion matter? But it's Dattitude with Jim Derry. My opinion is that that's not good enough. A statement is not good enough. You should want to go on TV. He should have said, you know what? Call up ESPN and say, you're doing the game today. How about if you let me come on for 3 minutes and say how big of a dumbass I was? It's not that hard. ESPN would have ate it up. They would have put you on in a second. I'm not saying you need to have your call to Dawn Staley on national TV. But, if he did call her and he didn't call her until like yesterday evening, does it really take 48 hours to realize you were a jackass? No. I mean, again, she's got stuff to do. She's got a game. I get that too. I don't know. To me, it should have been done the next morning. There's a lot of times I've done stuff. I mean, look, speaking of Gabe, and this is no joke. This is actually no joke. There have been moments when, we have had our little moments, and we talk about it as soon as the show is over. We had a moment, 3 weeks ago, whatever it is. As soon as the show was over, we were talking about it to each other and discussing it and opening up. And 5 minutes after the show was over, we were fine. Because you know why? Because that's how grown adults handle things. And I'm not just using Gabe and I as an example. Anyone, just go out there and look at people you respect and think about it. This is not a morality lesson show. I get it. But it really bothered me. And, I guess maybe because I hadn't paid enough attention, but I hadn't seen that side of Geno Ariemma. And I get that he doesn't lose very often, but that's not the way. Again, that as an adult who hopes that people respect him, if I woke up the next morning and thought that people were thinking that of me and saw me react that way on national TV, I would be finding any way I could to say, I'm sorry, and that was not who I am, and I'm a dumbass. Again, yeah, that's what this statement basically says, but a statement, come on, man. Anyway, that's one of the things from over the weekend. One more thing before we get to the comments. There are a couple other things that I want to talk about, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but did everyone see, how about have yourself a night, Joe Adell? Do you know who Joe Adell is? If you don't know who Joe Adell is, I am asking you to go on, and even if you don't use social media all that much, Google Joe Adell. It's Joe, J-O, not J-O-E, Joe Adell of the Los Angeles Angels. He had, and sorry, Zach Ewing, close your ears, he had 3 unbelievable home run robbing catches in the same game. Like Aaron Beatty had 4 home runs yesterday and a grand slam to help the Tigers go crazy. The Angels do not win without Joe Adell on, was it Friday night? Insane catches, including one in the 9th inning that robbed J.P. Crawford of a home run. He dove, and if you didn't see it, go find it. If you've been living in a cave, whatever, under a rock, move the rock, get yourself some good cell signal, and find Joe Adele. And the last catch, he literally fell over the wall into the stands. There was a great picture I saw that I meant to cut out. I ran out of time this morning, but meant to cut out from in the stands from behind Joe Adele with him holding up the ball. It was fantastic. Anyway, a great weekend of sports. I spent a lot of time watching baseball, watched a good bit of basketball. The Michigan Wolverines, we'll talk about that. That's coming up later in the show as well. Playing UConn tonight. Who do you like? Can anybody beat the Wolverines? I don't know. We're going to find out also later on in the show. We're going to have that date, which involves one of the two participants. Just saying. And it also involves New Orleans. You might know where I'm going with this. It's a spoiler alert. That's right. So we'll see. Before we go along and get really going with the show, reminder to subscribe. If you like what you see and hear, please subscribe. Give us the thumbs up. Give us a like. Thumbs up. Like. You know what I mean. Also, click the little bell. Receive notification. We are usually on the air Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at 11 a.m. But we are taking Wednesday off of the air. I will not be off. I have plenty to do, which is hence why I'm taking off on Wednesday. Trying to get draft prep done. Got some other things going on as well that maybe I can spill the beans on Friday. We'll see. Could have a major announcement for you on Friday. We'll see. I know. Leave me. What's going on, Derry? Major announcement potential on Friday. Will not affect the show. Oh, it will affect the show in a way. It will affect the show. I take that back. It will affect the show, but I can't talk about it just yet. So maybe potential major announcements coming Friday. Also, if you want to talk to me, you can find me on X at Jim Derry Jr. or email me, jim@jimderry.com. And also, if you would like to consider supporting an independent journalist, sports now broadcaster, podcast host, whatever you want to call me, if you would like to support the show and support the people who help this show, you know how to do it. You can become a member of the Dattitude family. In fact, Gabe, if you want to click on the members and give them a little time in the crawl while we talk about our friends here. There's our members at the bottom of the screen. We thank all of them for being members here and being part of the Dat family. You can do that as well. But subscribe to us on YouTube. Before we get started, and really started today, and I'm getting to the comments on this Mano E Monday. I promise. I know I'm late today. Before we get to it all, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your privately held or family business. Just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. That's someone you know, someone you love, someone you just say, I need to help this person. They have been thinking about it for a long time. Who do they even turn to? You know who they turn to? They turn to Evangeline's founding partner, Nick Braden. He will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from either his office on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed to begin to make a decision on if you want to proceed. And if you do want to proceed, you say, you know what? I want to know a little bit more about all this. We're going to tell you later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. And you can also check out my friend Joe DiStefano. If you own a small business of fewer than 20 employees, you know how tough it is to get the best rates on health insurance. That's why you want to call Joe DiStefano Insurance. Joe and I have known each other for almost 40 years. I can tell you that he's someone that I trust. Look, health insurance shouldn't be one size fits all. And with Joe DiStefano, you get access to PPO networks and flexible plans designed to fit you, not just a cookie cutter mold. Joe's licensed, he's local, but he can help you no matter where you live and operate. From preventative care to peace of mind, we'll tailor a plan that works for your life today and tomorrow. Call Joe DiStefano at 504-234-2132 to protect what matters most. Let's get on with the show. Get on with the show. Who's first here this morning? By the way, before I get to the first comment, did you see this little nugget about the goddamn Jets? They are now officially the team with the longest playoff drought in major sports history. That now that the Buffalo Sabres clinched a spot in the NHL playoffs. That's so sad. Sorry, Jets. Enjoy that, Demario Davis. The GD Jets. Speaking of not good, how about, I don't see a lot of comments about the Pelicans lately. How about them? Oh, they're going to win like 8 out of their last 9 games. They're going to be on a roll. They're going to be on fire. We don't need to make changes. They suck. They lost their 8th game in a row. Is that good? Yes, they aren't winning 30. They have 25 wins, and they only have, thank God, 3 games left. And until they start caring, we ain't going to care that much. I haven't done a Pelican slide in probably a month. Again, they don't care. We don't care. And honestly, I don't know if they care. I want to care. I want to care. But I can't spend time on the show talking about the Pelicans when no one else, when they don't even seem to care. Let's see what happens in their draft coming up, because they need to make some moves. We've told you about it. I'm sure we will talk about it after the draft. I mean, look, when you get to May and June and July, we're going to be talking about the future of the Pelicans coming up for sure. UBN's first. Good morning. Best week of the year is Masters Week. Well, I don't know about that. It's a great week. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if it's the best. Okay, for you, it's the best week of the year. Why is it still cold? I love it. And I'm enjoying it because I know in about 3 days, it'll be gone. It'll be gone. So I wore my sweat. I don't know. I say I don't need to wear a sweatshirt. I went outside to move the garbage can back to where it's supposed to be. And it was chilly up here. It's like 57 degrees this morning. I mean, that's pretty good for us. Good morning, Charles Mangus. Good series win. Absolutely. Big one. Sav, have I ever seen anything like the robberies Joe Adell had in a game at any level covering baseball? The answer is absolutely not, Sav. I mean, what? That was insane. And I enjoy it. I mean, look, I don't care about the Angels. I've kind of sort of mini adopted I don't love the American League. I mean, let's be honest. So I've kind of, I don't know, but I always kind of like Seattle anyway, the Mariners anyway, because I'm, like you being, I was a Griffey fan. I liked Randy Johnson. I liked some of the things they did. I enjoyed it. Mention of the Mariners coming up later in the show, by the way. I don't know. So I've sort of always enjoyed them, but I got to say, there it is. There's the picture. You found the picture. Love it. There's the Joe Adell. That was the picture that I was talking about earlier from, one of the fans from behind after he made the third catch and went into the stands, and you see him standing that's just a phenomenal pic. Good job, Gabe. Love it. That was a great picture. Love it. Yeah. Oh, we got to put the slide back up. There we go. What else we got here this morning? I know I missed some comments, but anyway. So no, the answer is no. I have never seen anything like that before. Phil, good morning from Texas. Glad you are here. What's the weather like in Texas? Brian, who dat, baby? Aaron Beatty. Just wow is all he can say. Phil is saying Caleb Downs and Mansour is the pick. Wide receiver in second round. Couldn't disagree more. I'm okay with Caleb Downs. Definitely not Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane is not worth the 8th pick of the draft. Sorry. Charles did not have 2 grand slams. He had 4 home runs, 1 grand slam, the last one. Jody Alexander, good morning. Hello there. Welcome. Nola Rebel, we are definitely going to be talking about it in a little bit. Who do I like in the NCAA championship? What is the bet? When Gabe comes on, and we will certainly talk about that. I have a slide for it, and we are ready for it. Bad Bunny, Billy says, UConn money line easy. You cray. Okay. I can tell you one thing. I won't be betting on that. I mean, it could happen, but I ain't betting on it. Mark Gaffsey, good morning. Who dat? 17 days till the draft. That's right, 2 weeks from Thursday. Kyle Sherman, we saw you earlier. Hope you had a great weekend. Had a fantastic weekend. Fantastic weekend. Yesterday, Easter, this is one of the better Easters that I've had in a while. Easter is another, it's a family day. It's a day where you get together with family. Of course, you go to church, and I will shame myself by saying the family went to church, and I did not. I was actually prepping, trying to get everything ready for people to come over. And so when the family went to church, I was still getting the crawfish and everything else that we needed. So I know I'm a heathen. But it was a great day. Family came over, and they were here most of the day. It was just a wonderful day. Hope you all got to spend a lot of time with your family as well. Dylan Smith, good morning. What a game for the Tigers. Coach knew what he was doing. Lit a fire under them boys. Let's go. He certainly did. Hart is here. Good morning. You threw away your Chicago Sky shirt this morning. That's because Angel Reese is no longer a member of the Chicago Sky. Kyle also says, by the way, he says Sadiq Bey from Oregon is the next great tight end in the league. Not saying we should take him, but he is a difference maker. If we trade back and pick up more capital, it would be an interesting move. Yeah, you know what? We keep talking about how it's not in the MO for the Saints to trade back. Maybe they'll surprise us. This definitely would be a year to do it because look, if someone wants to move up, I know some people disagree because you don't get the 8th pick very often, but if you're only moving back like 4 or 5 slots, maybe. Sean says, how would I feel if the Saints drafted Love at 8, Bell at 42? I'd be doing cartwheels in my office. Now, I might break a hip, and Gabe would have to take my spot on the live draft show, but I would absolutely do cartwheels if they drafted Love at 8 and Bell at 42. Abdi says, NFL news is so slow, everyone's just going to throw hot takes to get people worked up. Are you talking about me? Or are you talking about someone else? Because this is not a hot take. I actually believe, I told you, I'm not joking. I think it's absolutely possible. Not only is it possible, I would advocate for it. The Saints to take 2 wide receivers early. They get a chance to take, if Love's gone and you take Tate in round 1 and you get a chance to take a Bell in round, let's put this slide up. Where is it? There it is. Let's go back to this. I like it better like that. You were right, Gabe. That one's better. I would just say that if you look at the top 10 receivers in the NFL draft, according to PFF, and the number on the right is where they fall on their big board. It's not necessarily where they're slotting and where they're going to go, but those are overall rankings on the right. So if the Saints were able to get the top receiver in the draft, which I think is a possibility, I think it's 50-50, maybe a little better than 50-50 that Tate's there at 8. I think it's a no-brainer. If Tate's there at 8 and Love's gone, I think it's an absolute no-brainer. I don't care who is left on the defensive side of the football, unless it's Arvell Reese, which ain't going to happen. That's an absolute no-brainer to me. You run to the podium, give me Cornell Tate, and you move on. Now, if he's gone, then you got a decision to make, and maybe you don't go receiver. I would still advocate for it, but I would understand why you wouldn't. And if you get a Tate, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Chris Olave as we speak here. The more I read into this, does he want more than $30 million a year? Because if he does, then I just don't know if that's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to happen. You go get a Chris Bell. What if Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M falls? I don't know. Lots of decisions to make. Lots of things coming up as we go along, for sure. But these are, it is what it is. Someone asked, by the way, was I running late this morning? Nothing major. The good thing about a podcast is I'm pretty good about punctuality. I'm very rarely late to anything. But the good thing about a podcast is if it doesn't start exactly at 11 o'clock, is it that big of a deal? If it starts at 11:02, it's not like the radio when you got hard time slots and hard outs. Now, if we ever get to where we're picked up by someone and we have to go on at a certain time, then it would be a big deal. But nah. Let's see. Mark says he's hoping the Saints pick up Brian Brissett's 5th-year options. My thoughts, absolutely they should. But they don't need to do that yet, do they? He's going into his 3rd year, his 4th. He's going to his 3rd year, isn't he? I don't think they need to do that yet. Am I wrong on that? Look that up for me, Gabe. Is Brian Brissett going into his 3rd year, his 4th year? I get mixed up. Christopher Crump, what a great day to be a Saints fan. It's always a good day to be a Saints fan, even when they stink. There's a Pelicans comment. Of course, it's Mark Statanovich. Pelicans lost again. Do we keep Borrego? I hope not. They need to be changed. They need changes. Absolute changes need to be made. Sav, college baseball doesn't have ABS. I don't think. Look, I think that one day it'll be possible. But I don't think that right now it's gonna be able to happen. He is going into his 4th year. Okay, well then it's not too early for a per se to. Yeah, I mean you got to think about it then. So yeah. Father Steve's here. He said it was an awesome LSU comeback. So happy to beat Tennessee in that fashion. Legendary LSU baseball. That is gonna be one for sure that we don't. You're not gonna forget that one. I mean, that's a game that no one's gonna forget. Speaking about Kyle spent part of the day over here at the Derry household yesterday. My brother-in-law's here. He says he loves Borrego and really wanted to work, but this is embarrassing. You got to make big changes. Big changes. You got to make them. Hard. I got to show this one for you. Hard is not a fan of Dan Hurley. In National Weekend News, Dan Hurley being the second most disliked basketball coach at UConn was not on his bingo card. I mean, Dan Hurley is my favorite coach at the University of Connecticut. Now, I only know 2 of them, but why are you hating on Dan Hurley? I don't get why. Why would you hate on Dan Hurley? I don't get it. He's a great coach and he's motivated. I mean, he's definitely taken a team that has no business being in the national championship game to the national championship game. He's just a great coach. I don't know. Am I missing something? Maybe I am. I mean, I don't follow college basketball as much as a lot of you do. I mean, Hart. Again, I'm talking about Geno Ariemma. She said she had 800 unread texts and he could be in there. He said before they don't have a relationship because we don't have anything in common. I'm with Kyle. There's no excuse, no apology can cover how unprofessional he was. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's kind of my point. You know, it's just there's no excuse. Again, maybe he did call. Maybe I'm just being too harsh on him. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm being too harsh. It's just it really bothered me. And again, I think what bothered me most is afterwards when he was talking about how what set him off was the whole thing about not having a pregame handshake. And well, I mean, it wasn't true. So what really set him off? I want to know what really set him off because it wasn't that. They obviously shook hands before. So why did you make something up and lie? Why did you have to lie? I don't get it. Good morning, Jerry. We're glad you're here. Hope that everyone had a great Easter weekend. 100%. I just don't get it. David Nola says he wants 2 wide receivers and a running back in this draft. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Again, why wouldn't you? I mean, this team needs, just think about how much better this team can be in a hurry. If you take this offense to a new level, and you kind of already have, you could take them to an even higher level. You can get a wide receiver in the second round. You can get whatever you want in the second round. I mean, I'm going to say this again for people who aren't listening in the back. For the people who keep saying, you couldn't get a good wide receiver in the second round. You can get a good edge rusher in the second round. You can get a good cornerback in the second round. You can get a good whatever you want in the second round. No duh. Okay? So what is the highest priority for this football team as of right now? And I think, sure, you could certainly make an argument that it's cornerback, but I think there is much more depth and there are good enough players at defensive back for this football team. And we talked about, I don't know how many times I need to say it because people aren't getting it, but the whole salary thing is a huge deal when you're talking about wide receiver. That's why to me, I think it's a no-brainer. It doesn't matter 100%. If Carnell Tate's available with the 8th pick of the draft and Love is gone, it's a 100% no-brainer. You run to the podium. You don't walk. You don't pass go. You don't collect $200. You don't wait. You go do it, and you move on. Just saying. Lance is here. Good morning. Who dat, baby? And I know I'm running behind. David says, not in poker. Are you talking about the way that I act? Not me. Barry Ulay says Tennessee's closer on Saturday was a foul-mouthed punk. A lot of them are foul-mouthed, but maybe he probably is a punk. I don't know. I'm telling you, I enjoyed just a little bit. No, I'm just saying just a little bit. It was really more than a little bit. I just enjoyed how that ended. It was extra special. Ryan Ashay says, I don't get fantasy points for Adele robbing 3 home runs. I need him to hit them. It was awesome, though. Sometimes fantasy takes a little bit too much of people's. I had a great fantasy. Not that anybody cares about my fantasy team, but it was a fantastic fan. I was number 1 in 2 of my leagues, and in my 3rd league, I was 2nd. It was a pretty good weekend. Let's see here. Paul Laporte wants to know, should New Orleans be considered for a UFL football team? They kind of were, and then I think the problem is I think they worry about where they would play. They would probably have to play at Ullman. I don't see it happening, Paul, not in the near future. Maybe if the UFL can grow a little bit. Remember, I mean, there was a team here in the USFL before they merged, and they had to play in Birmingham, and it just, I don't know. I don't know that it would work. I would love to see it. I just don't think it's going to happen. So anyway, we'd love to have it, but I don't see it happening. Cannon, welcome. Glad you made it to the show live. Jimmy Rosen is here. Good morning. Mark, Phil has been on the show before. Yeah, I don't know what episode it was, but it's been a little bit. But he has been on the show. Let's see here. What else we got before we get moving on here? Justin, I knew you'd be in here. Big Ten. Justin Bracey. Make sure you stick around for that date coming up in a little bit. You are definitely going to want to hear that date. No doubt about it. Just saying. It wasn't happening for Illinois the other night, by the way. Just saying. What else we got here? Excuse me. Oh, well, somebody's talking about LeBron. Gets you being fired. Why are y'all talking about LeBron? I don't know how I missed those, but anyway. Let's put this slide back up and talk a little bit more about it. Let's get into the Saints a little bit more because we got some things to talk about. This might be a shorter show than usual. Gabe's going to be coming on a little bit because I do want to spend a little bit more time than usual with that date because I want to have fun with it. I'm going to have fun with that date today. Let's see here. Where was I? I don't want to lose my spot. Paul Laporte also, so Chris Olave concussion issue is a hangout with his contract extension. I don't really think that's necessarily true, Paul. I think it's the reason why. I mean, it might be the reason why he's not getting $35 million. I don't think that that's necessarily. I know that you read that on a post that people who used to be very involved in this show, let's just say. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I mean, that's speculation. I mean, of course it's going to be talked about when you're talking about a contract. I don't think they're going to go. I don't think the Saints are going to go past a certain point. How much money does Chris Olave want? Does he want 29, 30, 31 million? Okay, that's probably in the range of what the Saints are willing to do. If he's talking about top wide receiver money, I mean, well, look, I've said multiple times on the show that I don't think Chris Olave is a wide receiver 1. I know he's a wide receiver 1. But does that make him one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL? No. So, I mean, he's not going to get $35 million. So if that's what he wants, then he can keep on moving on. But so as far as the concussions go, yeah, of course the Saints are concerned. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We've talked about it on the show. We're concerned. But it's not going to stop them from giving him the $29 and $30 million a year contract for 3 to 4 years. But the longer it takes, maybe the Saints, maybe both of them are waiting to see what happens in the draft. I don't know. I can tell you, I think what's going to happen in the draft is going to affect whether Cam Jordan comes back. I mean, if the Saints do go out there and get a guy like, Reuben Bain or David Bailey, I think you're probably looking at the end of the line for Cam Jordan. Right? I don't know. Sean wants to know, can you see Omar Cooper from Indiana falling to 42, or would it be a Raider-like move to draft Mendoza and Cooper? I mean, again, you look at PFF's rankings, not that this has anything to do with where he'll go in the draft, but PFF has him as the 24th best overall player in the draft. Will he make it to the second round? I don't know. I doubt it, actually. I mean, with a fourth best receiver now, some mock drafts that I've seen have Concepcion going as the fourth receiver. Denzel Boston, maybe. I don't know. I think that Cooper or Concepcion is probably going to be the fourth receiver going. Well, I don't know that either one of those guys makes it to the second round. Possibly. But so, yeah, I mean, if Cooper fell to the second round some kind of way, then absolutely. You could see that happening. Lance says he wants Bell in the second. He trade back into the first. No, you do not trade back. Absolutely not. He's got that dog attitude. That's great. He's got that dog attitude. And I like Chris Bell. Don't get me wrong. But the Saints can't trade. The only trading this team should do is down. Unless Jeremiah Love is within reach. That's the only way I would advocate trading up in this draft. I mean, maybe trade up a spot or two. If they're in the second round, they're about to, and they really want Chris Bell and he's still on the board and they want to move up a couple spots, great. But you can't. I always say you can't. You can do whatever you want, but I'd say no to that. Jim Mora is coaching UConn football. I forgot about that. That's Jim Mora, not the Jim Mora that coaches Saints, obviously. Not 90-year-old Jim Mora. That's the son, Jim Mora. Yes, he is coaching Jim Mora, UConn. Doesn't change my opinion. Ryan, I know you keep bringing this up, and I keep telling you why. Why do I think 8 is too early for Delane? Most of what I see has him top 11. You've been advocating for drafting need and wide receiver, cornerback of biggest needs because, first of all, wide receiver is definitely, in my opinion, I'd say definitely. When I say definitely, when I say anything, it's pretty much my opinion. But to me, Mansour Delane, I think he's going to be a solid player in the league. To me, he doesn't, from what I've seen from at LSU, was he really a really good football player? Yes. Is he going to be a really good football player? Yeah. Do I put him on the same plane as a Marshawn Lattimore? No, I don't. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be wrong. Maybe we'll sit here a year from now and he's the defensive rookie of the year. And, y'all are giving me grief for saying that he wasn't worth the 8th pick of the draft. But I don't. First of all, I'm not a fan of cornerback at that high in the draft. Hardly ever. You hope you only get so many chances at having this high of a draft pick. And you need, to me, the top 10 is for absolute. I mean, I can't say franchise changing players because when you draft an 8, you might not necessarily get a franchise changing player. But you need an absolute, to me, offensive stud unless your defensive needs are so super great. And there's just more talent on this team on defense, on the defensive side of the ball and the defensive backfield than anything they have at wide receiver. Again, even if Chris Olave resigns, and there's a strong likelihood that he will, and they'll sign him to an extension and whatever. But think about who else is left. You could talk about Jalen Polk and Trey Palmer and Devon Vele all you want. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, they may be fine receivers. There is no wide receiver 2 on this team. And frankly, I'm not even 100% sure there's a wide receiver 3 on this team. Maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. But I do know this. We were just talking about worrying about concussions for Chris Olave. Let's say Chris Olave goes down for an extended period of time. This team needs 2 receivers. So that's why I'm telling you, I'm not trying to conjure up page views or video views or whatever. I'm not just blowing smoke. I don't blow smoke. I don't write headlines for clickbait. I never have and I never will. And I didn't do it on this show. So I'm dead serious when I asked the question, would the Saints consider taking 2 wide receivers early in the 2026 draft? And to your point, Ryan, the reason why is because, yes, wide receiver and cornerback are the biggest needs, but I think wide receiver is significantly higher than cornerback. You can get a good wide receiver in the second round. Well, great. Get one in the first round and the second round. Do you realize, just think about it. How much, in my opinion, how much better this team can get in a hurry, in a big hurry, if you super upgrade this offense. You've got a foundation on defense, a solid foundation. I think I ate too many, maybe I ate too many jelly beans. Sugar stuck in the back of my throat. So you keep asking me and I keep giving you the same answer. I'm not as big a Mansour Delane fan as everybody else. And even if I was, again, cornerback. Now look, Gabe loves Caleb Downs. He thinks he's a top 5 player in the draft. If he falls to 8, Saints going to have a decision to make. If Tate and Love are both gone, which is a distinct possibility, then all bets are off and who knows what the Saints will do at 8. But if Love or Tate are there, it's 100% a no-brainer. It just is. And I just don't, to me, when you get to 8, if Tate and Love are gone, it means that one of the, if you're going to go defense, then I'm in Downs. I doubt that Love, Downs, and Tate, all 3 are going to be gone. Possible. But then, not only that, and even though it isn't as big of a need, I'm going to go get a Reuben Bainer or a David Bailey if all 3 of those guys are gone, and you're telling me I have to draft defense. I don't want to draft those guys. I still would go receiver if I were the one picking. I am trying to surround Tyler Shuck with as many weapons as absolutely possible. And to me, to do that, you need to draft. And again, this is assuming that Love is gone. You need to go get the best receiver available with the 8th pick. I don't care. Yes, Chris Bell or whoever else in the second round. Go get him too if you want. Make this offense that much better. With your offensive-minded coach, you've got to show up. This offense has been on the downhill slide for 5 consecutive years, and I'm sick of it. Yes, they've already started to go back up. That's great. You still got a long way to go. Does the defense need help? Of course it does. Do that in the second round or the third round. UBN, $30 super chat. I'm afraid to read this without reading it first, but here we go, UBN. Thank you for the $30 super chat. We appreciate all the donations to this show and independent journalism, or whatever you want to call this today. This is a pretty much opinion, so I guess it's, whatever. You know what I mean. Thank you for the donation. Mr. Yukon had no problems with being all smiles with Dawn when he beat her. Now he loses and says they don't know each other. She coached under him for the U.S. team and then had his PR team issue an apology. I can't disagree. I 100% agree. I mean, not to be going back to that because, I've pretty much run my course on telling you what I think about Geno. I think the thing that bothered me most about that was it just disappointed the hell out of me. A guy that's been so he's been coaching UConn since Gabe, look that up for me. When did he start coaching UConn women's basketball team? I might have been in high school when he started coaching UConn. It wasn't long after I got out of high school if it wasn't. 1985. That's the year that I graduated from high school. So that's how long Geno Ariemma has been coaching there. I don't know. I just never saw that side. Maybe that side was been there and I never noticed it. I don't know. Who dat daddy says who dat to the family? Put him down for receiver and running back. I'm in. Who dat daddy? We don't always agree. Sav, why would be drafting a wide receiver terribly dumb? I think it's terribly dumb if you don't. Again, do you see how much money wide receivers make and you can lock one in for 4 to 5 years on a rookie contract? I think it's dumb if you don't go get the best one. Go get a playmaker. I think drafting a cornerback in the top. I don't like drafting a cornerback period in the first round, much less at 8. That's just not me. I mean, you go back and again, talk about Lattimore. Yeah, he was great when he wanted to be. He's not so great now, is he? By the way. Don't get me started. Why the hell are y'all talking about LeBron in the chat? Who gives a shit? Seriously, who cares? Stop it. Who cares? Why don't y'all get each other's phone numbers? Y'all can start a text group and talk to each other all day long. What the hell are y'all talking about? I know who's not talking about LeBum. Mitch Bergeron with the $20 super sticker. Thank you so much, Mitch. Thank you. He is a regular donator to the show. We very much appreciate it. Sav says way too many holes on defense to draft 2 wide receivers back to back. No, there's not. I completely disagree. I mean, who are the biggest losses from last year? Alontae Taylor, sure. But I mean, you're talking about a defense that they were either in the top 10 or right around the top 10. Again, do you need cornerback? Sure. Go get one. Go get one in free agency if you want. You still got time. I don't understand the absolute adoration with adoration isn't the right word, but you know what I'm talking about. The absolute you're just consumed with needing a defensive play. There's so many people out there. There are people that just assume that the Saints going to go defense just because they signed Chen. And they signed a guard. First of all, guard doesn't have anything to do with what they were going to do in the draft anyway. Because they were never going offensive lineman in the first round. So that has nothing to do with anything. Now, Chen, that may be a different story. It still doesn't change. There way too many holes on defense. There are way more needs on offense. Again, you're trying to surround everyone. When I say everyone, I know I'm not. I hate when other people say everyone. So let's tone that down. When all this vast majority of Saints fans think you have your franchise quarterback in the fold. If you have your franchise quarterback in the fold, why wouldn't you want to surround him? Why wouldn't you want to surround that guy, Tyler Shuck, with as many weapons as possible in your building blocks? Gabe points out the Saints were 16th in points per game allowed, but 9th in yards per game allowed, which is that's the measure that I've always used in the 5 years of the show. I've always used yards per game as what the rank of a unit is. And the Saints defensively ranked 9th in the NFL, which is pretty damn good for a 6-11 football team. Really good for a 6-11 football team. Again, Alontae Taylor gone. Yeah, of course you're going to miss him. But how much are you going to miss Alontae Taylor, by the way? Was he that great? No, he wasn't actually. There are all sorts of things that this team can do going forward to help fill that hole. I would much rather see them spending on offense. Charles Mangus, thank you for the super chat. He's saying draft a wide receiver at 8. I mean, how can you not? I mean, to me, why would anybody think it's not a good idea if you're a Saints fan? I just don't understand. Yeah, UBN, tell them. Hit that damn like button. Hit it. Click it. Or as my daughter used to say, smash the subscribe button, guys. Gabe says, points out that the Saints went from 28th in 2024, the Saints were 28th in passing yards allowed per game. The great Dennis Allen and his defense. To 2025 to 4th. That's insane. Now, part of that is, and I'm going to in the defense of those who, say, well, that's a little misleading. Part of it was the first half of the year, the Saints were behind more than first half of the year. The Saints with Rattlers, I don't mean it because of Rattler, but they were behind by so far that teams just didn't need to throw the ball. That's part of it. But that's not all of it. They were 5-12 in 2024. They were 28th in passing yards allowed. And they moved from 28th to 4th. I don't understand why everyone thinks that is the greatest need in this football team, because it isn't. Gabe says they also ranked 19th in rushing yards per game allowed, so that helps. I mean, great? No, not great. But still pretty good. Let's see. Mitch says the argument for Delane isn't that hard, but we have more offensive needs. By some miracle, that won't happen. He's there. He won't be there. He won't be there at 42. You know what we're going to do? Maybe not the next show, but we're going to do this for next week for sure. Like we have this chart, Mitch, for the top receivers in the NFL draft. We're going to make a chart for the top cornerbacks in the NFL draft. Now, remember what these numbers are. Overall grade, 10, 15, 19, 24, 31, 35, 44, 49, 58, and 60. Let's see where cornerback is on this list. It's going to be interesting, for sure. Let's see. Earl says he wouldn't grab another if he get Tate at 8. Nah, look, understandable. I get it. But what do you do if you get Tate and Bell is, everybody? No, again, it's got to stop saying everybody. I make fun of people when they say everybody. I got to stop doing it. As a copy editor, in my copy editor days, I hated that was automatically struck. Everyone or everybody automatically struck unless it's in a quote. But so many people like Chris Bell. What do you do if you draft Tate and Chris Bell is sitting there with the 8th pick of the second round? You got to think about it, right? I mean, could you imagine how much better this offense gets just quickly? Gabe says Delane is 9th on the PFF big board. That's higher than Tate. See how quick I did that? My Shaw math. 9, better than 10. I did it just like that. Jimmy Rosen says he's all in on Tate, but we do need an edge and a lockdown corner. I don't get the whole. And look, I guess you can't pass on if the guys you really want are gone when you get to 8 and a Ruben Bain or David Bailey is there and how good they are, and you don't want to pass on them. I get it. But why do people say it's such a huge need? It's really not. It's a need, but it's really not that big of a need, honestly. You got 2 really good ones. You got one of the, maybe a top 10 edge rusher in the league. I mean, Chase Young, you could argue he's a top 10 edge rusher. Carl Granderson's pretty good on the other side. I mean, how many do you want? Why do you want to draft one in the first round? Again, if a Bain or a Bailey's there and you do at edge rusher what I'm talking about potentially doing at receiver, so I get it. But I don't get why people are saying why that's such a huge need. I don't think it's that huge a need. That's just my opinion. K-Man says he agrees doubling up on receivers early in this draft. We still severely lack playmakers. I mean, that's what I'm screaming. I mean, I'm not just throwing this out. Think of what you could do for this team if you did that. I know it'd be a little crazy. It's definitely unorthodox. If you're able to get a Tate and a Bell, or a Tate and a Concepcion, I don't think he'll make it that far. But if he does, a Tate, again, Omar Cooper is not going to make it to that spot. But if he did, if you have a chance to do that, how much you go from bottom of the barrel pass catchers, overall talent, pass catching wise, to one of the better ones. Look at the Lions. Look what the Lions did for themselves by upgrading. Like, how much did they upgrade their running back and receiver rooms over the course of the past 5 years? They go from here to here. It's why the Lions, it's not Dan Campbell. Trust me, it's not Dan Campbell. They went from here to here. They went from 3-13 to a contender for the Super Bowl in the matter of a couple of years because they upgraded their receivers and their running backs that quickly with, to me, an average or maybe slightly better than average Jared Goff. Now, don't get me wrong. I get they've got Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of the football. But Chase Young, could he be Aiden Hutchinson or close? Maybe. That's why I'm advocating for this. That's why I agree with K-Man. K-Man, absolutely. That's why you have a chance to change your entire offense and make yourself a contender that quick. That quick. Bad Bunny Bill says, Carnell Tate has never been the best wide receiver on his college team. Is that top 8 pick worthy? You know what, Bad Bunny? I'm not going to rank the Ohio State receivers. I don't know whether I agree with you or not. But if he's the best receiver on the board, which most experts out there, you know what I think about experts most of the time. But if most experts out there think he's the best receiver available in this draft, and most of those same experts have them in the top 10, I'm going to defer to their judgment in this case. It's like Earl's pick says. Bad Bunny is telling Bad Bunny that if the best wide receiver is the type of he says it's the best wide receiver, the type of receiver that the Saints need. Is he the fastest guy in the draft? No, he's definitely not the fastest guy in the draft. I think he ran a 4.55 or something along those lines. You know, he's 6'2", and he's a guy that can do what the Saints need. The Saints need that kind of receiver. I mean, you pair him with Vele. Maybe Vele's your 3. And you got your Chris Olave. And you got your potential speed burner. I mean, that's where Jalen Polk and Trey Palmer come in. One of those guys is your speed guys. Just to me, that quick, how much better you become on offense. K-Man says the Bears drafted Loveland and Burton back-to-back years after getting guards in free agency, and that worked out well for them. Sure did. They also have look, I've given them great for they got a great offensive-minded coach who took them way beyond where I expected them to take them. You know? Like Gabe says, Justin Jefferson was never the best wide receiver on his college team. That's a moot point. 100% that's true. Justin Jefferson, I mean, go back to the 2019 Tigers and think about that team. And who the wide receivers, that's, by the way, ridiculous, that wide receiver room. But Jamar Chase was clearly a better receiver in college and leaned on more. Who did Joe Burrow look to first? It wasn't Justin Jefferson. You know? And now, I mean, Justin Jefferson. Could you imagine Justin Jefferson on a really good offensive? Can you imagine Justin Jefferson on the Lions right now? I mean, that would be insane. Could you imagine if you put Justin Jefferson back with Burrow right now? I mean, think about it. That's just, look, I get it. I get where y'all are coming from. I understand why the people out there are talking about need at wide receiver. And yes, it's a need. I mean, a defensive back. It's a need. But why so many of y'all say you can get that in the second round, I think you can get a really solid defensive back. The Saints have shown that, and other teams have shown that. I think you can get a really solid starting defensive back in the second or the third round. That's just not, like Sav's talking about not wanting drafting wide receiver with the 8th pick is silly. I think drafting defensive back at the 8th pick is silly. We may come back to this because I don't know what the heck Gabe wants to talk about in a little bit, but I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about LSU baseball, and this is probably something that Gabe may want to talk about as well. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it because I got to it a lot in my opener. But you talk about what Cade Ambidi did. And the LSU Tigers now, by the way, 22-11, 6-6 in the SEC. Remember how people were giving up on them? They stink. They're terrible. I mean, this doesn't make them great by any means. Does it get them back in did the new rankings come out yet, Gabe? Or is LSU in the rankings yet again or no? I would think they are. He's typing it in. He's shaking his head yes. So, and Gabe's telling me that 24th at D1 baseball. So that's about what I figured. But 22-11 now. 6. And to me, again, I know this isn't the only thing people say. Why do you keep talking about this so much? But we talked about earlier in the show, and I bring it up almost every show, where LSU ranks with the odds makers and chances to win the College World Series. Do I think this is a College World Series winning team? Probably not. But I'm certainly not saying 0.0. I mean, I think you're actually getting value at plus 1,800, 18-1. You put $10 on LSU right now to win the College World Series, and they do it, you win $1,800. I mean, $180. Put $100 on it, and you win $1,800. And I think at this time last year, I don't know, Gabe, if there's a way to find this out or not, but I want to say that LSU was still like 9-1 at this point, and let's say 8 or 9-1 at this point in the season last year. Because I remember either you, Gabe, or someone had a really good bet on them that they put. It was somewhere around maybe a little bit earlier in the season. It was somewhere around here. But yeah, a big series coming up this weekend, and you look at what's coming up. He said he got him 9-1 in the preseason. Okay. And LSU this preseason, they were 6-1. So their odds were even lower than last year in the preseason. Now, of course, they went through that stinky time. We get it. You're not buying it. If you're not completely sold on them, great. I understand. But you look at what they did this week, and both of those victories were comeback victories on the road against a tough opponent. Forget that 4-8 in the SEC play. If Tennessee wins both of those games and holds on, they're 6-6 in the SEC. They're 22-10. It's a lot different. But for LSU, again, to go on a road in a hostile environment, and that is a really tough place to play. LSU wins its first series in Knoxville since 2016. The first time in 10. Think of all the great teams that have played at LSU over the course of the last 10 years. This is the first one to win a series in Knoxville. The same. Gabe says at this time last year, LSU was plus 750 behind only Tennessee, who was plus 700 this time last year. Okay. So pretty big difference. But still, plus 750. Could have got a great value on them last year, this time. And I think they're a good value right now. And yesterday, again, to state what Cade Arambidi did was just insane. And LSU had scored, they're down 5-1. They make a little run, a bunch of solo home runs. And Cade Arambidi had 3 solo home runs to get them to 5-5 and then to 6-6. Well, to get them to 5-4 and then to 6-6 later. And then the grand slam breaks it open. But I just think that we're going to be spending a lot more time going down the line talking about this LSU baseball team. And I said it Friday, and I'm going to say it again today. If LSU makes something of this season and if this ends up being a special team, this is the series I think you're going to look to and say, now it all stinks. If they don't win the series this weekend against Ole Miss, then all that goes away. They've got to win this series. I'm not saying you don't have to win every series going forward, but you cannot spoil what you did the last 2 weeks by losing to Ole Miss. Okay. At Ole Miss. I think you got to win a series again. Then give yourself a little leeway. But this is the time when you got to start coming to life. You're a little over a month away, I think, from the SEC tournament and when everything really begins. And look, you got to get it rolling, and I'm looking at upcoming series. After that, we got it on the screen. They play Northwestern State, which is always an interesting game. Northwestern State 10-run ruled them last year. Then you back home for Texas A&M. So after this series, by the way, at Ole Miss, you're home for a little while. You don't go on the road again until you go to Mississippi State. That is going to be one heck of a series. So that's why, to me, these next 2 series are super important, maybe more important than they might usually be, because you're going on the road to Mississippi State on April 24th through the 26th. And you need to be able to say, okay, it's all right if we only win 1 out of 3. That's where you want to be. These next 2 series coming up are big deals. And then May 1st through 3rd, you're home for South Carolina. And then you're at Georgia. That's going to be huge. May 8th through the 10th at Georgia. May 14th through 16th at home against Florida before the SEC tournament starts on May the 18th. So a lot of stuff coming up for LSU baseball. Huge deal. And sorry, Gabe, you're right. May 19th is the SEC tournament. So you still have a month and a half to go. You got 6 weeks to go. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SEC series left before you get to the tournament. Win the next 2 series, and then everything else follow, and then just play good baseball, okay? Then you don't have to put a label on it. They need to do this or they need to do that. That's kind of where I am with this team. But Kate Arambidi giving this team a huge lift this weekend was a big deal in my opinion. Big deal in my opinion. Like UBN says, maybe they suck, maybe they're just average, maybe whatever, but they're definitely exciting. And you look at what they allowed. I mean, the pitching's better. I mean, sure, in the grand scheme of things, you'd love to allow fewer than 6 runs, fewer than 4 runs, really. You give up 5, you give up 4, you give up 6, but you win 2 out of 3. And honestly, with this LSU team, if you give up 5 or fewer runs, you're probably going to win 2 out of 3, in my opinion, the way this team is hitting the baseball. You hope that's good enough. We'll see. All right, let's move on here, and we're going to talk about whatever he wants to talk about, but switch to this one here. Gabe here with us. It's Monday with Gabe, and how was your Easter?
It's good. It's just like any other day. It didn't do anything different. Like
every other day. You spent your time in front of your computer?
No.
Okay.
Every other weekend day. We'll say that. I know one thing we can talk about.
Is this what
before we get into the NCAA?
Okay.
Before we get into that, do you want to tell people about the rest of their lives?
Oh, man, that's part of the reason why you're here, man. For sure. Because, like Gabe said, we told you earlier, we'd let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family run or privately held business might be worth, whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Best question of the day. After their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleans and Nick Braden and the folks at Evangeline, they will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from, the whole wide world. They'll maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and 0.0 with their dedication and success. They're fully licensed. They're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick about what's really important. And that's why we brought him on here. So Gabe can tell you what's really important. What is it?
The rest of your life.
Absolutely. You can get in touch with them. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. There's a lot of love in the back. Lance and UBN are giving each other love. I think Lance means a different kind of love, though. Anyway, before we get to that date, lots of things to talk about this morning. I know you probably got something in mind, but let's talk about the national championship game tonight. Earlier, we saw someone say UConn money line at plus 240. I ain't wasting my time. Michigan, are they that good? I don't know if they're that good. I don't know if they're going to cover the 6.5 spread. We'll get point spread. We'll get your thoughts in a moment. But man, I know we saw it in the women's game. We saw South Carolina look absolutely dominating and then get their asses waxed by UCLA. The men's game to me is a little different. And this Michigan team to destroy Arizona like they did on Saturday, I don't know how you can't bet them.
Yeah. I mean, they're phenomenal. Solo ball is going to be on 1 foot for UConn as well. I think Michigan's bigs are going to give UConn a lot of trouble. So yeah, I know historically
the player that's hurt for Michigan, he's playing tonight. What's his name again? The one that went out early in the first half, and then he ended up coming back and played sparingly in the second half.
I admittedly didn't watch that game.
Okay, well you missed it. It was a fantastic.
I was going to turn it on. I was busy during the beginning. I looked at the score, decided I don't want to watch this.
I loved it. I mean, why you hate Michigan that much?
No, it was a blowout.
Okay.
I have better things to do than watch a blowout.
Yaxel Lindenberg.
Yeah. Yaxel.
You know. Oh, no, wait, that's Axel F. Anyway. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. If you're under the age of 50, probably. Well, UBN probably does because he's old at heart. Hart says, on paper, Michigan should dominate UConn. Knowing his luck, he hates Dan Hurley that much. Dan Hurley will ruin his week yet again. Look, the one thing about UConn is it's hard to bet against them because they've won so many games they're not supposed to win.
They haven't lost a game in the Final Four under Dan Hurley, so
yeah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Kyle Beverly Hills Cop, baby. Axel Foley. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all there. All right. So do you have a pick for tonight? Are you going to make a bet? Again, Michigan -6.5 against UConn. Are you going to watch it?
Probably not.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to watch it. And
if I was going to, I would bet Michigan to cover. I just think they're that much better, and I think their bigs.
I'm just going to say if Michigan wins the tournament challenge that we put together, whenever Gabe put it together a couple of weeks ago, for members of this show, I'm just saying the winner is on the screen. The person's going to win. Maybe I should have actually.
My bracket was horrendous.
Played in the bracket. Yeah, it wasn't very good.
I fell into the trap of I saw a guy doing comparisons. And I love these little like time comparisons. Comparing Billy Donovan's 2-time winning Florida teams to this team. And I was like, you know what? I'm in. You got me.
Yeah. That was a mistake. Yeah, well, I'm just saying. Of course, the only bracket I played was for free and with the members. I didn't actually do a bracket. It ended up being, I probably wouldn't have won a big pool, but who knows? Anyway, we'll see what happens. But I got Michigan -6.5. Am I laying a big chunk of change on it? No. But enough to like play it for fun. I do think Michigan's going to win this. I think UConn's Cinderella shoe falls off, and Hart can be happy that they got their asses whipped and whatever else.
I'll turn it on if it gets close. But
there you go. What is your anything from today that we talked about that you want to touch on, or something else? What is it? What's on the mind of Gabe Henderson this morning?
I wanted to touch on the receiver question. That you put in the title.
All right.
I don't think they consider taking 2 solely because of how much they've invested into that room already. And I know it's not great, but if you think about it, and I'm not here to debate what they gave up for Vele. It was a 4th and a 7th. And then they gave up a 6 for Polk. They're going to, if we're correct, and if things
they'll
go
give Trey
the way
Palmer a chance as well.
They're going to give Trey Palmer. They didn't invest any draft capital in him, but they invested some draft capital in Chris Olave. They're going to absolutely pay him. They've invested draft capital in some other young receivers. I just don't see them taking 2 more receivers early. That's just a lot of draft capital to spend on one position. I get it. Yeah, and so that's where I'm at with that. I would like to say I was in your camp with the corner in the top 10 is a bit much until Derek Stingley. And I absolutely think Mansour Delane is good enough to be a top 10
I don't think he's that good.
I get it. No, I certainly get it. I do. I think he's phenomenal. But you mentioned looking up the ranks of the top 10 corners on PFF.
Mm-hmm.
I crunched those numbers.
Okay.
Funnily enough, we mentioned earlier how Mansour Delane comes in 1 spot ahead of Carnell Tate on those lists.
Yeah.
The number 10 wide receiver you had on that board was at number 60. The number 10 corner comes in at number 61.
Interesting.
So
they have very
equidistant
similar
between the 1st and the 10th. Yeah. I took the average position on PFF's big board of all 10 receivers. The average was 34.5. That's the spot where they would rank. 37.9 for corners. So the receivers.
Yeah, corner just seems to me. corner seems to be, and you saw the Saints do it with Kool-Aid. I mean, you can debate whether how good Kool-Aid is. That's a whole different show. But you saw the Saints move up a little bit to go get Kool-Aid a few 2 years ago. To me, and it's not just Kool-Aid. I think that right in the second round, and I think that to me that's more of an area that's in the ballpark of where you go get one of the better cornerbacks in the draft. Again, you could debate. At the time, I thought it was a great move, and it still could be. I mean, Kool-Aid's been a little bit of a disappointment. The jury's still out, but to me, that's where you go get if you really go get a defensive back with two. But I just throw this question out there because, again, like what I said, if you can just bolster your playmakers up that much, and I think it would make that big of a difference for this particular team. I'm not saying I would do it for any team or would I even do it on a normal basis. But in this situation with Tyler Shuck, with the fact you just got Chen, with the fact that Love's probably going to be gone, to me, that's why I would consider doing it and making a possibility. So
I get it. I just don't think it'll happen. Like I said, it's a lot of draft capital. I am with you in the fact that I believe the Saints should go wide receiver at 8 if Carnell Tate is there. If not, I mean, everyone knows I've been beating Caleb down.
Yeah, you and a lot of other people.
I think he's the best player in the draft.
Hey, you're not going to hear me bitch if they do that. I mean, I can't. He's a top 5. He's a top 5 in this draft player, top 5 talent. That's a little different. And I know he's a safety, but then it gives you options. Maybe you move Sanker to a corner, or maybe you do some other things. There's you have all kinds of options if that is the case. And so you're not going to sit here and hear me going off if that happens. Yeah. I'll be like, well, they got a really good football player. That's for sure. So
I'll give my last thought on this topic on this. I think in the first 2 rounds, the Saints should go. If it were me, the Saints would go wide receiver, corner, or DB wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, either combination. I think that's the way.
Punter and kicker. So that's probably what they'll do. Mark wants to know, if you had your choice, would you take Bain or Bailey?
Oh,
I know I would take.
I would probably go Bain. I'd probably go Bain. But I think I believe I'm a lot higher on David Bailey than you are.
You are definitely higher on Bailey than I am. I would absolutely, if I had to take one of those guys, I would take Bain. But again, I don't want edge rusher. I mean, this is definitely, look, if you get kind of, I don't want to say trapped, but if you get into a spot where, Downs is gone, Tate's gone, Love's gone, and you're kind of like cornered into, we don't want to take Lemon or Tyson that high.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't take him that high for what it's worth.
Right. And I don't necessarily agree with you, but I understand if the Saints feel that way. So then, and then a Bain and a Bailey are available, and then you kind of like have to make that choice if you're the Saints and you feel like we're not spending the capital.
I know we hate talking about it. If that's the case, it's not going to be the case, but if it were Downs, Tate, and Love were all gone at 8, would you trade down to?
I would love for him to trade down. Sure. Yeah, I would love for him to trade down.
Similarly, I know everyone, or not everyone, to your earlier point, a lot of people are on the draft Jeremiah Love at 8 train. And I know you still want to do that. Do you think that possibility is out the window now, realistically? Do you think they've kind of moved on to look at other positions?
I think that they don't think it's a possibility. I think they're going. I agree. I think they're going into this draft again. I don't think that's the only reason why they signed Chen. I think, but I think that had something to do with it, as he had that fantastic combine and he shot up the draft boards. I think they missed the boat. So I think they agree with you, BN, that he's not going to be available at 8, and they're not. First of all, they're not willing to take any chances because I will say this: look, they obviously, and to their credit, because they have not always done this in the past, they went out and said, our top 2 needs on this team coming in to post Super Bowl and into free agency, zero question that guard and running back, you could put them in whatever order you wanted to, were the top 2 needs in this in this year and this offseason. And they went out and got, in my opinion, the number 1 guard available and the number 2 running back available. And some were saying the best running back available. I don't necessarily agree. I think Kenneth Walker is probably a little bit better, but whatever. 1A and 1B doesn't make a difference. So the fact that they did that, look, if they don't get Love, great. Even if Love's available and they don't take him, I mean, I'm not going to go, they should still take him. But I think they think that he won't be available.
Yeah. I'm
with Sean, by the way. Trade back with the Cowboys at 12 if they want to do that, and draft Lemon if those players are going.
I think that would be a smart move. To speak to an earlier point, this was just an offhand comment you made way earlier in the show. You said that I don't think anyone really knows where the Saints are going to go. And I think this little detail at DraftKings completely confirms that suspicion. There are a lot of markets up for do what?
We talked about that Friday, the odds.
No. So there are a lot of markets on DraftKings right now for teams' position of their first drafted player. Every NFC South team is listed except for the New Orleans Saints.
Wow.
3 teams
interesting.
There's no market right now for the position of the first draft player by the Saints. So I don't even think they are keeping their cards close to their hand, and I think they absolutely should. They're going to have a lot of options at 8. So
that is a very interesting number there for sure. Look, I know we get this, and I'm trying to do this online here I got to sign in to be able to do this. Hang on. Hold on. I know live TV. I'm trying to get a number. The reason why I'm taking some time here. Ryan says he's not a big Granderson guy, and I know a lot of people aren't. Not a big Granderson guy. Interior D-line is suspect. Cornerback suspect. Wide receiver is the only suspect position group on. It's wide receiver isn't suspect. Wide receiver is in dire straits. And I don't get why people aren't a quote-unquote Granderson guy, okay? He was, let's see where we go here. PFF grades last year. And again, I don't go by everything with PFF grades. I'm just saying this is kind of a barometer. He was in the middle of the pack among 115 edge rushers. He was 64th. Okay. Is that great? No. But in a run defense grade, he gets 49 out of 115. Is that great? No, it's not great, but it's also not a need. When you got Chase Young and you got a guy on the other side who's in the middle of the pack, you have one of the best in the NFL, and then you got an average guy on the other side. That means it's not a need. It'd be a luxury to draft someone there. And here I will say this over and over again. When you're a team that the Saints aren't a good football team. They were 6-0. They went 5-12 and they went 6-11 because they won 4 out of their last 5 games. Doesn't suddenly make them a good football team. And I've said this over and over again. When you're not a good football team, you don't draft best player available. You draft for what your biggest need is at that spot in the draft. And that's why I don't want the Saints to draft a Bain or a Bailey. They may draft one. They may get themselves a great player. Again, we told you a situation where it may be what they have to do. But the reason why I don't advocate for drafting a Bain or a Bailey is there are much bigger needs than edge rusher. Edge rusher, in my opinion, is not really a need. It would be a luxury right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the last 2 years, I think that tells you the story. Those weren't sexy picks by any means.
By the way, Ryan's making sure that everyone knows that he's advocating for drafting Tate if he's available there at 8. But and look, I get it. I'm just
Jimmy says he'd bet the house that Love is gone. Good thing is, Jimmy, you can bet that. Wait for draft night. There will be an over/under on Jeremiah Love's draft position.
Don't do it. You would have bet the house that Shedeur Sanders was really drafted in the first round last year, too.
To be fair, I wouldn't bet the house on anything in the NFL draft.
Don't bet the house.
I will say, though, while we're briefly mentioning this, there is a pick that I like. Okay. Ty Simpson's average draft position is his projected over/under is 34.5.
Yeah, he's going to go before that.
I think he's going to be a late first-round pick.
Yeah, I do, too.
So I would take a flyer on it. I think
the
under on that pick was plus 170.
Yeah.
So that's a market
maybe we'll
really
spend we're gonna have a show for sure the Monday and Wednesday before the draft. Maybe we'll spend Wednesday, we'll talk about, we'll have a segment for prop picks that we'll do. and maybe even UBN can get on and we can have a little prop pick fun. We constantly lack pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I mean, first of all, Chase Young missed the first, 5 or 6 games of last year, and I don't necessarily think that's true. Where the Saints rank in sacks last year?
Right now.
He's looking. I don't necessarily think that was true.
I was looking at quarterback pressure, right?
Okay, whatever. Pressures is fine. It had to be. I mean, I wouldn't put him in the bottom 10. Not that that's the only barometer. But I mean, the Saints had a decent amount of sacks last year. They improved immensely. They were, again, 4th in pass defense last year, period. They were 4th in passing defense, up from 28 the year before.
32.
Go ahead.
Saints were 26th in pressures last year.
Pressures, that's not
238 across 17 games.
Okay. Where were they? Team stat leaders and sacks last year. Yeah, this is not an easy way to look at this at all. Here we go.
Hold on, I'll call it up for you.
Yeah, the Saints were in the top 10. 1, 2, 3,
45
4, 5,
sacks.
7, 8, 9, 10. They were 11th, actually. They were 11th in sacks last year. Tied for 10th.
Tied for 10th.
Tied for 10th with the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
So they were tied for 10th in
which
sacks.
is a really good win rate when you consider they were 26th in quarterback pressures, but tied for 10th in sacks.
Tied for 10th in sacks is very good.
Mm-hmm. So they're not necessarily getting to the quarterback a ton, but when they do, they're bringing them down.
It's not a top 3 need on this team. You don't draft that at 8, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying they won't do that.
I think you've also, one of the other things that you've got to look at is, as we alluded to earlier with the pass defense and rush defense stats, the Saints were the 19th ranked rush defense last year. Teams ran the ball on them a lot, and they weren't passing as much, especially early in the season when you mentioned. So that can also contribute to pressure.
And like I said, the first 6 games, what did Young miss? 6 games? He either missed 5 or 6 games. But I mean, so a lot of that crappy no pass rush was when Chase Young was out. So
this is why whenever you read off stats, you've also got to kind of contextualize them.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think all of that, none of that's super surprising.
Let's wrap up the show with what I think is going to be a fun Dat Date in history. And if you stuck with us for this long, don't go anywhere yet. What we do here, if you have not seen this segment previously, and we have kind of skipped a couple here and there because I've been running out of time. I've been so busy. But I need to start doing these like the day before. But anyway, we go back in time and we pick a year between 1960 and 2025, usually random. Sometimes I cheat and pick one that I want. In this case, I cheated and I picked one that I wanted. But we show you the front page of the Times-Picayune on that date and start out with what happened locally on that date. What was on the front page of the paper? And we're going to go back in time 30. Let me do quick math. 33 years. We go back in time and we look at the front page of the Times-Picayune, which I was a part of back 33 years ago. And it said, the headline read, Deja Blue. And why did it read that? Well, in honor of Michigan, Justin Bracey, you still out there, in honor of Michigan playing in the national championship game tonight, we go back in time, like I said, 33 years. My first time sitting on a press row for a major event. It was before Gabe was born. And it was the first time, not only that I was sitting on press row for a major event, it was the first time that Chris Webber wanted to throw up in front of a national TV audience, trailing North Carolina by 2 in the national championship game in the Superdome with 11 seconds left. Webber called timeout, except the Wolverines didn't have any timeouts left, to which my best buddy who was working with me at the UNO Driftwood at the time, Mike Prain, shout out, said, who's a huge big Michigan fan, said, yes, when I said, they don't have any timeouts left, he said, yes, they do. No, they don't. It resulted in a technical foul, which resulted in the Tar Heels winning their 3rd national championship. And coincidentally enough, it was the first since they won the 1982 title game, which I also was in attendance of as a 13-year-old kid at the very nosebleed top of the terrace. In fact, 3 Final Fours. The North Carolina Tar Heels have been to the Final Four 3 times, and I mean 11 times, and I've been to 3 of them.
I've been to one of them.
You know what?
Of 2016, I think it was
17.
Oklahoma.
Not in 17?
No, they were there in 16
Okay.
and 17.
Oh, okay.
16 was the year they lost to Villanova on the buzzer beater, and then they won the title the next year.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe the Final Four that year was Villanova, UNC, Oklahoma, and Syracuse. So Jay Wright, Roy Williams,
Poor dumbass Weber,
Jim Boeheim.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, MJ was in 1982, so I did get to see Michael Jordan and his shot in the dome in 1982. Again, I was way up there. Michael Jordan looked like he was about 2 inches tall.
Can I give a hot take?
Sure.
Stop hosting Final Fours in football stadiums.
That's never going to change.
Oh my God. Some of the pictures, my favorite thing every year is when people post the pictures.
That's one cool thing about the women's championship. Yeah, the women's championship.
And they'll say like, oh, that's a foul, ref.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. It's never going to change that. Just a little vignette, a personal vignette. As a 24-year-old kid just getting into this business. Again, I was a sports editor at the UNO Driftwood at the time, and also working at the Times-Picayune. And my boss at the Times-Picayune said, if you're going to go cover this for the Driftwood, we want you to go and cover it for us as well, which is one of the coolest thing ever. You want to talk about cool. I got to interview Dean Smith within just one-on-one outside of the North Carolina locker room, 15 minutes after North Carolina won the national championship. And that, to this date, is one of the coolest things that I've ever been able to do. Privileged to be able to do in this business. And you see Dean Smith being hugged there. And it was a great moment, and he couldn't have been nicer, and he couldn't have been a cooler guy. And the late Dean Smith, one of the all-time greats for sure, and coaching this business. Jerry says March Madness will continue at football stadiums. Unfortunately,
why is that?
You're right, because money. Everything's about money. All right, this is the point where we start turning to the state, that date in history, and I give Gabe questions. We have 2 questions for you today. One of them you better get, or you're going to revoke your sports card, your sports media card from you if you can't get this date, even though it was a long time ago. The first question comes on this date in 1973. The Pittsburgh Pirates retired the number 21 in honor of this all-time great who had died in a plane crash a little over 3 months earlier, and he had his 3,000th hit on the last day of the baseball season in 1972. Who died on New Year's Eve in 1972? And then they honored his number 21, and no one has ever won it since for the Pittsburgh Pirates. This date in 1973.
The man who's got a bridge named after him, and
he does have a bridge
outside PNC. It's Roberto Clemente.
It sure does. There's no doubt about it. I think you'll get Roberto Clemente, obviously one of the all-time greats. Sammy Sosa wore the number 21 in honor of the fellow Dominican Roberto Clemente. Okay, here's your other question today. Well, actually, I actually have a third question is Lanyap, but I don't think you're going to get it. But you might get part of it anyway.
Okay.
Let's go this one. I don't know. You may or may not get it. I kind of give you some hints to help you. This horrendous, absolutely atrocious, awful sports venue in the Northwest opened 49 years ago today. Thank God it closed several years ago. And let's see, what other hint can I give you? The home team lost to the Angels 7-0. So there you go. I'm telling you that they had a baseball team in the American League. Still do. They lost 7-0. Just an absolutely atrocious, awful venue for sports, and I'm glad when they blew it up.
Candlestick?
In the Northwest. Candlestick's not really
Northwest.
Way up Northwest. All right.
I don't know.
The Mariners lost to the Angels 7-0 on this date 49 years ago. The first professional game ever in the Kingdom. Do you not even know the Kingdom?
I've never even heard of the Kingdom. No.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Wow. God, I'm old. Okay.
That's as soon as you said awful, my first thought went to the Oakland Coliseum and Candlestick. I was like, but that's not Northwest, but that's as Northwest as I know bad stadiums go.
Okay, well, go look up when we get off the air here today. Go look up Kingdom.
Was it worse than the Trop?
Oh, it's
the current day Trop. The Trop is horrible.
You know why? Because at least the Trop you're kind of closer in at the top levels. The Kingdom was kind of like the Astrodome, which I think, by the way, it wasn't. The Astrodome wasn't absolutely terrible for football. It wasn't good, but it wasn't absolutely terrible. For baseball, did you ever go to a game in the Astrodome? I don't know how. I mean,
I
was
wasn't.
it going?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Well,
it wasn't. I mean, Enron Field opened up in the early 2000s. So when I
okay,
was
so you just a
cognizant enough.
little, yeah. Okay, so you wouldn't even remember if you went.
No.
Like me going to Tulane Stadium, I went, but I very, very vaguely remember going to Tulane Stadium. The Astrodome was terrible for baseball. The Kingdom was just terrible. Period. It was vast. It was ugly. It had the ugly, terrible artificial. It was just terrible. Anyway, spent enough time talking about the Kingdom, but Google it when we go. 49 years ago today, it opened, and thank God it's not still open today. And then one day after Chris Webber called timeout on April 6th in 1993, the sports world got a new Major League Baseball team as this team lost its first ever game to the Dodgers 4-2. Who was it?
Oh,
in 1993.
1993. I assume since you said they played the Dodgers, it's a National League team.
It is a National League team. That was your hint. I'll give you another hint. The losing pitcher was a knuckleballer named Charlie Huff. I think that really tells you anything. Well, I think it also played for the Dodgers at one point in his career. And he was probably about 50 years old when he played in this game. He was
I don't know. I'm right.
They wore neon colors at the time.
Marlins?
Yes, the Florida. They were the Florida Marlins then.
Those are the teal Marlins uniform are my favorite uniforms.
They're pretty good. They're not bad.
They're phenomenal.
And they wore the no sleeves with the t-shirt coming out of them. I like those.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, short story if he's listening because he listens to a lot of the shows. My friend Eddie Burris, by the way, stole my Marlins hat, and we were roommates for a while, and he never did give it back. He also stole my Toronto Blue Jays hat and never gave that back. Just saying, if you're listening, and you might be, I remember that you stole my hat 30-something years ago, you bastard. All right, let's move on as we wrap it up here. Only a couple birthdays of note. Nothing. There were no real big birthdays. Former Saint center Jeff Fain was born in this day 45 years ago in 1981. And then really, probably it shows you how weak it is. The most famous athlete born on this date, on that date, came 61 years ago in 1965. His name is, and still is. He didn't change his name like other players did. Sterling Sharp is 61 years ago. Is
NFL Hall of Famer.
61 years old. There you go. Charles has got it. Marlins. Kyle was guessing Arizona. Charles said that the Superdome was not good for baseball. Yeah, but they never really had a major league team there. So
you've seen I assume you've seen
Mitch got it. Seattle. Yep. Mitch got it.
Yep. You seen the video of Sterling Sharp finding out he was inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Super cool.
Yeah, it was very cool and definitely well deserved for sure. We'll see. Let's see. Florida won the base. They've won two, haven't they? Haven't they won two major World Series?
Did they win two? They won in what, 03?
They won in 03. They beat don't get me started. They won the NLCS over a team that I dearly love. And because some idiot touched the baseball, that's a whole nother story. And then they went to the Bronx and beat the Yankees in the World Series. I thought they beat the Indians. Didn't they beat the Indians in the World Series too?
I don't know. Sure. I think you're right.
Late 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think you're right because my dad lived in Cleveland at the time, and he's told me about that.
Yeah, poor Indians.
Go back Indians and look.
Guardians haven't won the World Series since I think the 40s or the 50s. It's been a while. Kyle Sherman says the Tampa Rays had the worst baseball stadium ever, and the sombrero is terrible. Oh, the sombrero. I mean, it's not great, but
who stopped Cleveland from winning their first title in that long, Jim?
Who stopped? You mean
the closest Cleveland's gotten to a title? Who stopped them?
Well, that would be the Chicago Cubs.
There you go.
Beating them in 2016.
There you go.
I was there for games.
You're talking about a
4 and 5, baby.
NLCS they lost. That was a fantastic World Series. That and
it really
2016,
was.
16 and 17 are two of the best World Series I've watched, along with 2011.
And now we just got the Dodgers paying all this money, and they'll probably run like the next 8 of them until maybe they'll get a salary cap and change things. Who knows? I don't know.
But my parting note will be
Jody says 1948 for them engines. Okay, did not know that. I knew it was sometime around that. I didn't know what year it was.
Go back and look at the championship roster of the 2003 Marlins. Some phenomenal players. Josh Beckett, one of my favorite players as a youngster.
There really were some really good players.
Love Josh Beckett.
And the team that won, I think it's 97 that beat the Indians, I think was a very similar kind of thing. Very good. Mm-hmm. All right, I will see you on Friday. No Wednesday show. I will see you on Friday as we talk more about the draft. And probably we'll talk LSU baseball as they enter a big series against Ole Miss. And we'll be less than 2 weeks from the draft when we see you then.
Yes, we will.
All right, bud. See you then.
All righty.
All right, everybody. That's going to pretty much went a little bit longer than I thought we would today. I thought today would be a 90-minute show. I've been trying to keep it closer to 90 minutes. We had fun today. As long as y'all want to talk, here's the thing. Even though I'm trying to keep it closer to 90 minutes, as long as y'all want to keep talking, and it's easy to tell when people want to keep talking, they keep typing stuff in, I'm going to keep talking. There you go. And today, y'all wanted to keep talking. I thought it was a pretty good show. Mano E Monday. We always have fun. Kyle Sherman, you were here throughout. Great show. Thank you for being such a big part of supporting the show. And we'll ask anyone else if you would like to support the channel. We would appreciate it. How about you start by subscribing to our Dattitude YouTube page? That would be the best way to start. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like. It helps the algorithm. We are certainly trying to help the algorithm. Maybe no show on Wednesday because I'm working on some draft prep. I also have some other things going on in the background. I may have a major announcement for you on Friday. We'll see. I know I'm not supposed to say that unless I'm really going to have one. It's about a 90% chance I'm having a major announcement for it. We'll see. This show is not going anywhere. We're still going to do the show. So if you're worried about that, that's not going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Rocky, where you been, Rock? Glad you made it. Go back and make sure you don't miss anything. That is going to wrap it up for us on this Monday. I want to thank today's guests, Gabe Henderson, and you. You know you're more than our guest. Zach is scheduled to be on Friday, and I usually ask him Thursday to make sure you're good, and he usually says yes, and then we move on. So, barring something strange, it will be Zach on Friday. And you know what? If you want to just listen to the show, you can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. We hope everyone has a fantastic week. We will post some shorts in the day. I know I've been slacking a little bit on shorts. I've been, again, it's been a super crazy week and a half or so. That's why we're taking Wednesday off. But I am going to get back to the shorts. We'll be prepping for the draft. Again, 2 weeks from Thursday. We will see you on Friday. And until then, everyone, take it easy, my friends.